Since changing the name of the Eclectic Americana Friday morning drive time radio show on January 20th, 1989 to the Bushwhackers Breakfast Club, the DJs in the collective have strived to entertain and inform our listeners. Airing from 6 to 9 a.m. Pacific at KZSC 88.1 FM in Santa Cruz, California, the Bushwhackers usually have 2 interviews a week, each airing for about half an hour. We're not afraid to ask questions or admit that we don't know something, and we don't mind taking deep dives or following a tangent as we get into how sausage is made in local, county, or state politics, or learning about things going on in our community, or discussions with artists. Our interviews are not scripted and are produced by myself, Dangerous Dan Orange. Is that moving? That's moving.
Press multiple,
Press this, that,
multiple things.
And over here we can say,
things.
Good morning, KZSC, you're on the air.
Good morning.
Good morning. This is Jenny Johnson. How are you this morning?
Howdy, Jenny Johnson.
We're doing just fine. Thank you so much. Whoa.
We're also there's a little bit of glitchy there.
Yes,
we're also joined by
Griffin Boyle.
Oh, Griffin Boyle.
That's me.
Live in the studio. You guys are with Central Coast Community Energy 3CE. And remind me, this is our regional utility, which is made up of San Luis Obispo County, Monterey County, and Santa Cruz County?
That's correct. Yeah. So we serve, like you said, Santa Cruz County, Monterey, San Benito, San Luis Obispo, and Santa Barbara counties.
Okay, so it's... and why did we form a utility, and when did we form a utility?
Yeah. Ginny, you want that
Ginny,
one?
can you field that one?
You betcha. So in my day job, I am an analyst for Supervisor Bruce McPherson. And in 2013, when he took local office, and I had a prior career with Ecology Action as its CEO for many years, he and I started working on forming a Central Coast Community Energy or a Community Energy Agency. We had seen one formed in Marin County, and we decided to work on it because it was the number one mitigation measure of all of the climate action plans in the region, in the Central Coast. The number one thing we could do to eliminate almost half of our greenhouse gas, to green up our electric power.
Almost
the other half mostly coming from the transportation sector. So we looked at that and said that will have a big effect if we were able to get the 21 Monterey Bay area governments. And originally, we worked in the 3 Tri-County area, Santa Cruz, San Benito, and Monterey. If we were able to get them to collaborate and cooperate and form a joint powers agency to do this, as Marin has, we could really lower costs, green up the electrical supply, and actually reconnect with the community in terms of reinvesting in the community the profits that would have normally gone to the investor-owned utility, because a local government agency is a nonprofit. So we started working on it in 2013, and in 2017 formed the first joint powers agency that had been formed in the Tri-County area in 45 years, which was sort of remarkable that they actually collaborated on that level.
But okay, so did you think that you couldn't depend on PG&E to green up the environment and redirect profits to the community, and so that's why you took it over for us?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, PG&E has always had reasonably good goals regarding greening up our electrical supply, even then. However, mandated by their regulator, of course, the CPUC. However, we could make it happen much faster. And so in this case, as Griffin and Lena will tell you, Central Coast Community Energy was originally, the name was Monterey Bay Community Power, and it was changed to Central Coast Community Energy because now it's a 5 Central Coast footprint. In fact, the largest, I think, geographically in the state. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure it's the largest. In any event, we had confidence in PG&E, and they are a partner in delivering the green electricity that Central Coast Community Energy procures. However, we wanted to keep costs down and fixed, which we have. Griffin and Lena can speak to that. We wanted to green up our supply much faster, which we are doing, and we'll have that greened up completely 100% renewable by, I believe, the year 2030. Sorry. If I got that date wrong, Lena and Griffin, please correct me. And but 100% green renewable, not greenwashed, is a lot, and we're way below the PG&E rate. So, and we can reinvest what would have been profits to PG&E back into the community in the form of complementary programs, which is what Lena and Griffin want to speak to in your show today. So all of those benefits we saw, and local control. We wanted a local board that had local control over our electrical supply. And so those were all reasons to do it. And I think all of us are astounded by the level of success. There's a great team that runs 3CE. It's an amazing success story of what government can do if so motivated. So I'm very proud to be associated with it.
Well, that's Ginny Johnson. You said you were with Bruce McPherson when you formed Monterey Bay Community Power, and now your day job, you're an analyst with 3CE?
No. I'm still with Bruce. This is his last year in public office. He is sunsetting his term, as everyone knows. He's not going to run again. So we are slowly transitioning and organizing the 5th District office to transition to a new supervisor. And I stuck with him this whole time, watching 3CE grow and blossom and do a great work, amazing work. And I'm both Bruce and I are very, very proud of being the founding startup folks, which actually in our office, as we pushed it, Santa Cruz County was the leader of the 21 governments in the AMBAG region to form. We used our executive team to do all the hard work. And now we can, confidently say that not only is the Central Coast Community Energy one of the most successful community choice energy agencies in the state, one of the most financially successful and solvent, with half its operating budget of $450 million in the bank as reserves, debt-free, et cetera. We're just all so proud of being associated with this incredibly well-run and wonderful agency that provides green energy to our Central Coast.
AMBAG, by the way, is the Association of Monterey Bay Area Governments. Bruce McPherson is the 5th District County Supervisor, who was so polite that when I mispronounced his name for years, he never told me. And somebody else had to say, there's no fear in McPherson. No fear in McPherson. So, Griffin, Boyle, live in the studio. Yeah. What brought you to our area, and how are you affiliated with Central Coast Community Energy?
Yeah, absolutely. I am an energy programs analyst for 3CE, so I'm working in our programs department, helping to operate the program offerings that we have right now, as well as develop new ones. How did I come to the area? I grew up in the Central/NorCal zone, so I've been here for a little while.
Gotcha. Okay, we want to turn our attention to heat pumps because there was an article in the paper last fall that I was reading it that the federal government included rebates for heat pumps in the Inflation Reduction Act. But on top of that, there was a much larger program that was a more generous program that would provide rebates of up to $8,000 for heat pump purchases that were included in the climate law, the Inflation Reduction Act, but had to be rolled out by the states, and the states roll it out by counties, by AMBAG, by different groups. So, Griffin, take us on a deep dive into heat pumps. Maybe we can start with, what is a heat pump?
Yeah, great question. Heat pumps are a really phenomenal technology. The core concept here is that rather than generating heat as a traditional furnace would do via gas combustion or just electricity, heat pumps are moving heat from one location to another. So kind of your typical, what most people picture when they hear heat pump is called a ductless heat pump. You have the wall-mounted unit on the inside, and then you have a unit on the outside. And what you have connecting those two aspects is a line which carries refrigerant. And what a heat pump is able to do is take advantage of the refrigerant cycle and the fact that when you boil and condense these refrigerants, they are releasing and absorbing heat. So what we're basically doing is running refrigerant outside, collecting heat, bringing it inside, and then expelling that heat and running air over it, and then you get warm air. And what's really amazing is that this technology is actually not that new. It's all around us. Your refrigerator uses heat pump technology. All those AC units that we think of, those are all heat pump technology. And it's really just kind of been growing and having its moment in the sun the last 5 years or so.
So an air conditioner, like when you walk around that big box outside with the fan and you feel all the hot air coming out, what a heat pump does is it allows it to run in both directions. So in the summer, it would do that, and the hot air would be blown outside while you cool off the house. And in the winter, it just reverses it, so the hot air gets blown inside and colder air gets blown outside.
It's basically as simple as that. You got it.
What is the installation process like?
That's a great question. There's a whole kind of slew of different types. So your two basic types for space heating are going to be ductless or ducted. Now, a ducted is probably what you're picturing when you think of a furnace. It's a big old box, and it connects to the duct system that runs through the attic or under your house through the crawl space. And then the shared component here is some indoor unit and then an outdoor unit where it can exchange that heat. So those are relatively straightforward as far as installation. They're kind of plug and play with your traditional furnace. You have to add the outdoor unit though, so you have to pour some concrete and whatever. Then the other type, the ductless mini split systems, they have, like I said, that indoor unit mounted on the wall somewhere. And then they have an outdoor unit as well. So there's a little more of an installation process potentially there. But typically for residential homes, certainly anybody who's converting from a traditional gas furnace, it's pretty straightforward. You really just have to think about adding that outdoor unit.
What about hot water?
Yeah, great question. So again, just a lot of great questions here. So the heat pump technology is at its core simply a way of moving heat. So you can apply it to all kinds of things. Like I said, refrigerators already use it, AC units, HVAC units, and so water heating as well, right? So it does the same exact thing. It's grabbing heat out of the air, condensing it and bringing it and putting it into your water. It uses the same basic technology. And these are typically even a little more simple because if you look at a heat pump water heater, it looks almost the same as your traditional electric water heater. It's just this big pillar. It's just a little taller on top because it's got the unit there. So you don't need an outside unit because typically these water heaters are installed in your basement, in your garage. So you don't care as much if it's exhausting some cold air because it's in your garage, it's already cold, so it's whatever.
Can you use the same unit to both heat your house and heat your water?
As far as I know, there is...
Or are they separate?
They're typically separate,
okay.
Although I think that there are kind of pushes as these technologies roll out and become more popular. That is a movement that's starting to happen. How do we integrate this? But for now, they're more or less separated units.
Okay, so all this money comes raining down from the federal government. It gets routed through AMBAG or through the state to in our area, Central Coast Community Energy, 3CE. And the rollout, some states rolled it out last year. Every state kind of took its time dotting their I's and crossing their T's. The rollout in our area for single-family home heat pump units is April 23rd. So it's not in yet. It's coming. And the single-family home heat pump water heater, I believe, rolls out October 23rd. So if you're a Bushwhacker listener or you're tuning into the podcast later and you want to take advantage of the $2,000 rebate and the $8,000 subsidy for over half the price of a heat pump, you have to go through a contractor, correct?
So you're right. The IRA program came down from the federal government. It's got a couple of these different avenues, right? It's got a federal offering and then a couple of state programs.
Inflation Reduction Act. Go on.
Sorry. Yeah. And so those state programs have to be kind of capitalized on by the individual state. So yeah, you're right. They're all rolling out at separate times. So the EYH program, Electrify Your Home, is 3CE's heat pump water heater and heat pump space heating incentive program. Now we get our, we have a program's budget within 3CE, which is where our money comes from. So 3CE doesn't actually interact with the IRA funds. When those do become available via the state programs, that'll be a separate thing that you can potentially add on. We don't know the details of that yet.
But if you did it now, are you going to get? I mean, $10,000 is a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
It says, and I'm pulling this from one. So John Laird's Deputy District Director, Justin Tran, helped me out with this and pointed me toward all these resources. To be eligible for the funds, homeowners will need to contract with a contractor who has enrolled in the program by completing an online application. Once enrolled, the contractor is approved to submit installation jobs via an online portal. Yeah. So the question is, if I did this now, if my name was Ron Snazzy Sandage and I was installing this right now at my house in Aptos, is Ron going to be eligible for the $10,000, and how does he get it?
Yeah. So,
because everybody wants to help out the environment, but when you're looking at a $16,000 installation, that's non-trivial.
Oh no, it's a chunk of change.
It's a chunk of change.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if the government's going to kick in more than half, a lot of people listening will go, okay, Uncle Sam is going to pay for more than half of my helping out the environment with a heat pump and a water heater, okay? But, where does the rubber meet the road?
Sure.
And Ginny, if feel free to chime in, okay?
Yeah, and so I'll start with, 3CE's offering is the Electrify Your Home program, which means that right now, if you are a 3CE customer, if you're within one of our 5 counties, you can go onto our website at 3ceenergy.org, go to the EYH program tab, and enroll with and look for a contractor who's enrolled in our program and take advantage. So what we've done at 3CE is actually stacked our incentives on top of an existing state program, which is, again, not an IRA-based program. It's called Tech Clean California. So what we were able to do is model our incentives to stack directly on top of theirs, meaning what that really allows us to do is to make a really compelling incentive offering that can seriously buy down the cost. There's a whole variety of ways of different kind of avenues that you can go down. There's different adders and kickers for space heaters and for water heaters and all this kind of stuff.
You've got somebody over there pointing at parts of the page that you should be reading. Do you want to introduce Lena?
Sure. Lena is here, and she's pointing at my paper to note that we have last year done over 590 heat pump projects, 129 in the Santa Cruz County area. So it's a really successful program. And again, what we're able to do by layering our incentives with existing state programs is make a really significant offering that can seriously buy down the cost. And if you want to look more into that on our website, like I said, on 3cenergy.org, you can look at our list of rebates and see how they all break out, and then get connected with a contractor right there.
So I have a listener email. If you have any questions, you can email kaosontheradio@gmail.com, kaosontheradio@gmail.com. But I have a listener question, a listener statement that I'm going to reword into a question. So 3CE doesn't have electricity generating facilities in Santa Cruz, San Benito, or Monterey counties. What is the percentage that we are even receiving any of the energy produced at these 3CE facilities if the electricity is going to larger counties in the California grid of electricity?
You're asking about where our power is coming from or where it's going to?
Yeah, and I think that the listener specifically points out that most of the facilities that I'm not sure whether they meant that 3CE is invested in, but they pointed out that there are facilities in or near Kern County in the California oil patch Then they say later on, whilst 3C&E may be contributing to greening the California grid, it is wrong to think that locally we're consuming any electricity that 3C&E generates. Could you fact check that for us?
Don't we being homeowners who have solar power, don't we contribute to 3CE's generation through anything in excess beyond what we use?
Yeah, if you have solar, you are contributing your excess solar energy back to the grid. Absolutely.
So I guess the listener's saying...
But I think of the larger 3CE facilities. Is any of the electricity being produced there actually going to any of our main 3 counties? And are you even able to trace that?
Oh yeah, so we have our power procurement team has a whole system of how we operate, of how we select our power and purchase the power, and it has a whole bunch of criteria. One of them is local preference, renewable energy, how sustainable it is. There's all these metrics that they use to select where we get our power. And yeah, absolutely, the power that is purchased by 3CE procurement team on behalf of our customers is flowing to homes now in our area, and our customers.
Diablo Canyon is in our area. Is Diablo Canyon considered a producer within 3CE, or is that it's operated by PG&E? Maybe Ginny, do you know?
Yeah, the answer to that is no. 3CE's pre-Griffin and pre-Lena, so they don't know this, or they do probably vaguely. But a few years ago, the policy board of 3CE, at the time Bruce McPherson was the chair of that policy board, rejected what's called nuclear attributes. I'm not going to go through the whole technical explanation of it, but I can tell you this, that the goal is to provide non-greenwashed real renewable energy into the grid through the procurement process, as Griffin pointed out. And it's true that a lot of the procurement contracts that 3CE has procured for the green power are not exactly everything in this area, because they had to be utility scale. And let me explain that. In order for us to provide very quickly non-greenwashed green power, real renewable power to our customers here in this 5-county Central Coast region, we needed to procure on a utility scale, very, very large renewable projects. And that required that we did some procurement outside of this physical area. But the grid is like the ocean. It's like the ocean that all the tributaries contribute to. The green power that we're contributing to the grid is hugely beneficial. And as 3CE advances its procurement policies over the next couple of decades, more and more renewable projects will be more localized in the Central Coast community area. And that's because we'll be able to show local developers of renewable projects that 3CE is willing and able to procure that energy and prefers to keep it local. So right now, the contribution is from local excess solar. I am one of those customers as well. I have 43 panels. I have 2 Tesla walls to back up my panels.
Wow.
And I contribute back into the grid every day, even in the winter. And then, of course, there's the green procured energy that's being on a utility scale being contributed to the grid. So it's a process. And you'll see over the next 2 decades more and more local procurement.
If you're just joining us, folks, it's the Bushwhackers Breakfast Club on KZSE Santa Cruz. I'm Dangerous Dan.
I'm Calamity Kyle.
I'm Kaos.
And we're joined by Ginny Johnson, a analyst with Bruce McPherson's office and the County Board of Supervisors, and Griffin Boyle from Central Coast Community Energy, 3CE. So Diablo Canyon's out. It has nuclear attributes, but the federal government has leased 3 offshore wind farm blocks in Morro Bay, 2 up in Humboldt. The 3 in Morro Bay, the inboard one is Invenergy, the outboard one is Equinor, the middle one, I believe, is California Coastal Energy. When those wind farms come online in federal waters, they're going to feed energy probably straight into the grid at or near Diablo Canyon because the infrastructure is there. Is 3CE going to contract with the wind farms, and then that qualifies as local renewable?
Could be, yes. So the leasing's happening right now. Sorry, I'm jumping in there, Griffin and Lena. The leasing's happening right now, so it's going to be a few years before that renewable energy projects are built. Excuse me. And once they're built, they'll be putting out a procurement, and 3CE, I'm sure, will jump in there and be competitive with other folks who want to procure. But it's very exciting. Yes, wind power is absolutely renewable, and it's a very exciting alternative to the nuclear power there.
So, Ginny, I want to come back to the money issue. Griffin, if you're stacking the incentives and you have state incentives, but from what I'm reading, the federal government subsidies don't roll out for a month or two, is that going to stack on top of it? Or are you going to replace it so that there's no difference to the homeowner? I'm asking, okay, it's good now. Is it going to get that much better?
Presumably, yes. I mean, again, we don't know because the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act funds, are going to be distributed by folks that are likely not 3CE. So there are going to be other programs that take advantage of it. So more than likely, you will be able to stack the existing Electrify Your Home incentives from 3CE with whatever the state is able to generate to take advantage of the IRA funds.
But the Association of Monterey Bay Area Governments also wants to clean up the air. And so through the California Air Resources Board, CARB, they have incentives for taking out your fireplace and putting in something that's more climate compliant. But when those funds run out, they're gone. Okay? So that if you're too late in the year in getting an electric car, you turn around and, oh, that $5,000 you said you were going to give me is no longer available. I'm asking about these funds for heat pumps. Is it a bottomless pit? Are we going to keep going? Or when the funds run out, they're gone?
It certainly is not a bottomless pit, but I will say that
it's close.
It's infinite money.
Yeah, that's right. There's no hack here. 3CE has our budget that we work really hard to make as accurate as possible, and we have every intention. I mean, and there's nothing to suggest that we won't be able to continue to fund our programs. And again, because we stack on top of the state of offering, we are able to make those dollars go even farther.
It's KZSE Santa Cruz, Bushwhackers Breakfast Club. We are making podcasts of our interviews.
Yes, I'm working on those podcasts. So hopefully we'll have a lasting version of this interview.
Yes,
very soon.
And so, where do people go to find out more information about switching to a heat pump, finding a contractor who's going to be able to access the subsidies, accessing all of these incentives? Griffin, where do people go to find out about more about this?
Yeah, sure thing. Go to our website, 3cenergy.org. You can find the rebates tab at the top. We have a whole bunch of offerings. One of those is EYH, Electrify Your Home. Click there and you'll find all kinds of resources, our incentive levels, how to get connected with a contractor. It'll take you also to the Tech Clean California website.
So let's say that someone decides that, okay, I want to go with this. I want to take advantage of this rebate. I want to go with a heat pump. About how long can they expect the whole process to take if they started getting in contact with you guys today?
Yeah. It really depends because these are contractors that have their own businesses, right? So they get busy. They have big periods of incredible business and then maybe some slumps. So it's tough to say. The process once you get the contractors on site of installing a heat pump isn't all that extensive. I mean, it's very dependent, of course, on your situation and what you want set up and all this. But typically you're likely not looking at more than 3 days, maybe a week, depending on the complexity of it. But they're not massive endeavors, likely even shorter than that.
And 3CE is going to be paying some of the tab.
That's right. That's right.
Ginny Johnson, any last thoughts from you?
Well, I really appreciate the opportunity for the team to get before your audience. And I just want to reiterate that one reason I spoke about it before, that we formed this agency, is so that the profits that would have gone to the investor-owned utility, PG&E, go back into the community. The rebates from 3CE would have gone in the PG&E pocket. It is now going back into the community. That is a good thing for everyone. It's millions of dollars. That's a big win. So I'm really appreciative. Thank you.
Well, it's our pleasure. It is KZSE Santa Cruz. We have the KPFA Morning News headlines coming up in just a second. I'm Dangerous Dan.
I'm Kalamity Kyle.
I'm Kaos.
It's the Bushwhackers Breakfast Club. Griffin, Boyle, 15-30 seconds. Last thoughts from 3CE, Central Coast Community Energy.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us on. Really appreciate it. Just another shout out to check out our website. We have a whole bunch of program offerings: Electrify Your Ride, Electrify Your Home, the new construction, ag electrification, and e-bus. So if any of this stuff sounds interesting to you, again, recommend you check it out at 3cenergy.org.
Thanks for joining us. You've been listening to a podcast from an interview on the Bushwhackers Breakfast Club on KZSC 88.1 FM in Santa Cruz, California. This interview has been produced by myself, Dangerous Dan Orange. KZSC is a student-run college and community non-commercial educational radio station broadcasting from the UC Santa Cruz campus. You can stream KZSC online at kzsc.org. Thanks for listening.